Hey, you're listening to the Ill Video Podcast Studio Recordings, episode number 5. I'm Phil Chappell, and with me, as always, is Mr. Brandon McDole. BJ, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Phil. As always, just happy to be a part of the party here today. Weather's getting warmer. We're going to be turning those clocks forward for that spring time.
Ah, yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So a lot of people, and even myself, I welcome it. So yeah. How about yourself, Phil? How you been doing?
I've been working on some other projects that you're aware of, mostly just exploring the vastness, which is the internet, and this whole decentralized thing that we're going to be offering to our guests, whether it be through an app or a website. We may be providing them with another podcast, which will be kind of cool. It'll be this, the Ill Video Podcast, but it'll be a different form. It'll be unedited, it'll be raw, and it'll be on the decentralized internet.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. Definitely looking forward to jumping into that with all that you see and hear running around on the internet these days about all the new technologies and ways it may be implemented in the future. So very
For
cool.
sure.
Hey, I was just thinking about our last show and all of the things that I was sharing in
Hmm.
regards to kind of my struggles and overcoming some obstacles that I thought maybe I wasn't really even capable of doing, which here on the show,
It was
of
awesome.
course, yes, thank you. But you know, we really do promote, you know, overcoming our challenges and things that we face, and doing our best to at least try and reach those goals that we may have set for ourselves, or any type of improvements that we're just looking to work towards each day and throughout our lives, even. But with that said, and having me talk
Hmm.
about some of mine, I do remember you mentioning that you went through something similar in the past.
Hmm.
So, that was definitely something I know I'd like to hear more about, because you haven't really told me much about that. And I know that our listeners out there, of course, haven't heard about that either. Now, I know
Yeah.
with this story, you did say something about weight loss, but um, not that we're going head to head on weight loss experiences here, but with
Yeah.
it being a very big challenge in all the foods and different things that we have to deal with every day and time management, it is a difficult thing to overcome and be successful at. So if you're willing to maybe share some about that journey that you went through.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Last week's episode, show number 4, was absolutely incredible. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone that commented. Unfortunately, the comments were disabled. Hopefully, you can go back and give that a re listen. And then this is I guess you could say, a supplement to that. And again, like BJ touched on, this isn't a competition. So I'm just trying to, he and I relate. That's probably that is the primary reason why we started this podcast, was to help people and spread awareness about our struggles with mental illness. And weight loss just happened to be the subject of the day, and BJ did provide, I think, a lot of value to a lot of people that listened. We just want you out there to know that we've both experienced this particular issue, and probably more than one reason. I don't know. I'm currently, I'm 5'10". I weigh anywhere between 165 to 170 pounds. Now, I walk once a day, and I clean, as I've mentioned in, I believe it was episode 3 or 2, or I clean because that's very therapeutic, and that isn't just me sitting around cleaning. Like, don't picture me cleaning and mopping. That's really the image you want to have in your head, and vacuuming, and just cleaning the baseboards and of your house or like anything like that. So I like to stay active, and things can never be too clean, so um I don't strip the paint off, but again, I walk once a day, and I tried to I have a pull-up bar, but in I think it was like 2019, 2020, that's really when I had achieved my weight loss. So that was the end result. But I didn't notice, everything. My lifestyle prior to this was the reason. I just didn't take note of my life and how I was living. So I was up to around 2013, 2012. I was at around 220, 225 pounds. And in 2013, I had agreed to autograph some divorce papers. Unfortunately, I no ill will. Just we walked away from the marriage as friends. It's something that I really didn't want at the time, but it happens. So that, in combination with unhealthy eating, drinking alcohol, and when I talk about unhealthy eating, I was eating nothing but fast food. And when I made food at home, okay, this is, I would use a fryer, like, and I would cook like chicken wings. I would actually make bar food at home, and I thought just because they're chicken, and I would rationalize, and I would use Red Hot, and I'd be like, well, that's got more vitamin C in it than oranges, and I would eat barbecued chicken wings at home, and I would eat Wendy's, and ugh.
So what you're really saying, Phil, at this time, just after what you know, for what it is, a kind of a hard transition in your life from being you in a relationship to kind of now you're single. So it sounds to me like you weren't really well educated on what was nutritious for you, although you may have recognized that it wasn't the best. You didn't really see what those effects were going to be until they gradually began to add up. And during that time, you just weren't focused, or did maybe you just didn't care to
Well, there
notice.
was a number of factors that did add up, and one of them was, I moved back in with my parents, so that was a stressor. I was depressed. I felt hopeless. I was 225 pounds. I was still, I was drinking socially a couple days a week. And every time I was watching the Penguins and the Eagles, and, any excuse I could to eat crappy or drink, a couple beers, it was just, and I think that the big significant part here is that I was misdiagnosed with a severe mental illness, and I was prescribed a boatload of medications, and those medications, in coordination with my lack of education regarding how to eat, what to eat, when to eat healthy, that made my weight, lack of activity, those feelings of hopelessness and depression, which leave you bedridden. Uh, those are all the contributing factors. So it wasn't until the second time that I went to the emergency room, uh, where I mean, like, my throat was like actually like seizing up. I couldn't swallow without like a few chugs of water. It wasn't until the second time that they admitted that I was actually prescribed way too much lithium. And at that point, I went back and saw my doctor and told them that I wasn't going to be taking any of these medications any longer.
Do you do,
And
do you
yeah,
recall, like for example, like how much of that lithium was being prescribed to you?
I really, I don't. I'm sure I have it written down on a list somewhere, but I know that the dosage was, let's just say, I remember 1,500 or 5,000, one of those 2. I
I
don't know.
think it's gonna be 1,500.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was take
Yeah,
this, like, 2 or 3 times a day or something, and it was just, like, way too much. Like, the first time I went to the ER, I was eating like, a protein bar, right? Yeah, before bed, and, I was trying to do whatever it was I could to lose weight, but I wasn't getting any exercise. I was reading and I was like looking at what I could do, like what meals I could make, and I bought a few things like you had mentioned in last week's episode about boxing. That's when I kind of went out and bought, I had already purchased a lot of like weight training stuff, but that's when I really got into it and started using the heavy bag and that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, it was really bad after that. Then after I finally realized that, this medication, this misdiagnosis, which led to me being on several different really, you know, big time medications. When you combine them all, I mean, it was over half a dozen different medications, mood stabilizers, medications for insomnia. And then when they realized that I didn't have a severe anger management issue because the drugs were making me angry and putting on weight. So I either felt numb and like hopeless, or, you know, when I was able to go about, my daily routine, or at least attempt a daily routine, I was still pursuing those negative lifestyle choices, like I just kept doing those. So, having dealing with depression and then facing the reality of divorce, a handful of other things. Not only that, but having not having a job, not the inability to get a job, no girlfriend or woman in my life. I had 4 or 5 people in my corner. A lot of stuff in my life was like just going downhill after. And I started to really, I mean, I had been a Christian and prayed a lot, but that was when I really turned to God, and I turned to Christ and recognized him as my sole redeemer and my savior. And then shortly thereafter, that's when the throat thing happened. I went to the ER, and then, like I said, the second time around, I stopped taking the medications, and it was by accident that I found out that I was misdiagnosed because I was looking for a different doctor, obviously, and I called the previous physician's office and I asked them to send my records. Well, due to HIPAA, they sent the records to the place that I had yet to sign up for or schedule an appointment with. And this particular doctor's office contacted me and said, "We just received your medical records and we want to let you know that we have permanently deleted them from our system." But they accidentally sent me the records. So then I got to thumb through some of these things and I couldn't believe what I read. And a few of the things, in there would lead someone to believe, specifically any doctor, that this person has anger management issues and it has this and that. But what he had written, I don't know if he did it by accident, or like if he was thinking like, okay, well, maybe it was a client or a patient that he had seen prior, but it wasn't me. And I don't know how he got, or she or they got to where they were in that diagnosis, but it was there. And I read it and I was like, you have to be kidding me. If this isn't malpractice, I don't know what is. But anyway, long story short, I, got off all those drugs, turned to Christ. And then before long, I took cleaning and I attempted, at least, to turn that into a career. And I think I mentioned it in episode 3 that I started Optimal Cleaning and Detail, which is the acronym OCD. And I had a few clients. And then, now, mind you, lost, I hadn't done anything physically for arguably years. And then I went from being completely stagnant to cleaning. And then I would have clients call, and I was, trying to build my website, and I was using different services so I could get more clients. And some of them were one-time cleans, some of them were weekly, some bi-weekly, and then monthly, and then regular. And weight started to drop. I stopped eating garbage. I stopped drinking pop, and I started drinking water. Now I drink, I think, as you well know, immediately every morning. As soon as I get up, I drink two 16.9-ounce fluid ounces of bottled water per day. And I drink water, I just chug it throughout the day. No, I don't drink too much water, but you're supposed to drink, I think, an ounce per every pound of body weight. And it was about the time I went to see my PCP that I really, really kind of hit me in the face that I had a weight issue, because my father had been seeing this doctor. I knew he was an older gentleman, but when I went to see him, he analyzed my blood work and he realized that my cholesterol and everything else was off the chart. And my grandfather was a diabetic, and my mother has diabetes. And he was like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" Yeah, all those things weren't good. And I was on the road to diabetes and probably a heart attack and drinking and all that stuff. And I smoked cigarettes from the time of, I believe it was like 16.
What was your brand?
Marlboro regulars.
Oh,
Yeah, box.
it's great. It's awesome, man. It's really, it's a good story because it's one that kind of, you never know, like, the direction that you're going to go in. It's just that you slowly find that direction, and that path isn't really laid out before you. It's one that you create as you go.
I don't think I was reborn. I just think that my faith was renewed or restored to a greater level, and I realized what my purpose was, and then that enabled me to accept the things that I couldn't change about myself and realize the things that I could change. You have to have a support system,
Mm.
regardless of whatever it is that you're dealing with, and
Yep.
hopefully we can be, I guess you could say, maybe a supplement to whatever support system is that you currently have or don't have. It's out there. So that's why we're trying to, BJ's story was, I mean, remarkable in the sense that, you know, he explained how he lost the weight. I think a lot of our things kind of lined up, I mean, like, he didn't think he could do it. And me personally, I didn't want to do it. And I didn't think I could do it either. But, his mother influenced him. I guess I could say, I had friends and family, but eventually my pursuits and my reflection on, faith that influenced me and gave me enough courage to go out and start my own business.
Phil, I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us today and all of the ups and downs, the heartbreaks and struggles. I know it wasn't easy to go through that
Thanks,
over
man.
those years, but also, just sharing it with us here today. I know it's also difficult to put it into words, and especially out into the world for others to hear. But I believe it's important for us, both you and me, to share these types of stories so that others can hear, some of the things that we've gone through and experienced. And I know that our goal is for others to take those experiences and find some sort of motivation or connection for where they may be in
Hmm.
hopes that it will help in motivating them to either take action or maybe even just have a positive outlook on their situation, knowing that others have been there.
We're kind of pressed for time, and I may elaborate on this next show on show number 6. But thank you for listening. And the comments, again, that my apologies, they were disabled, but you'll be able to comment, suggest, recommend. Thanks for listening to the Ill Video Podcast, studio recordings, show number 5. Thank you. My name is Philip Chappell, and I am here with.
BJ McDole.
Thank you for listening, and we'll be posting more content as soon as it's humanly possible. You guys have a blessed day and take care. Peace.